Hello, we're Group 2 from Lab Section 202, and today we're going to do a video demo of the iTrust2 system. I am Quad Jones.
I'm Amy's Hall.
And I'm Beth Mikovits.
Right now, we're going to be demonstrating the functionality of the View Access Log page. We'll be logging in with the email admin user, and Beth will be talking about the functionality of the landing page.
So as you can see, when you log in, you get a table with the most recent access log entries. This is the same for both admin and HCP, so the table which I implemented has the log code, the primary user, the secondary user if one exists, and the date and time of access. And this shows the top 10 entries, and if you click on the View Access Logs link, which we've displayed below, it'll give you a list of all of the log entries for a user. And it will let you filter by dates if you want to, as Qual will explain now.
So this is the View Access Log page, and once the user accesses this page, it'll display all of the log entries for the current logged in user, from most recent log entry to the least recent. And at the end of the page, there is a home link so that the user can return back to the most recent log entries page. So I implemented the main functionality for this page, which is filtering the log entries by date. The date parameters are string inputs. So with the string input, we concatenate the start date with the timestamp for 12 a.m. and the end date with the timestamp for midnight. So when you filter through the log entries, it'll catch every single log entry for that day, no matter what time it's in. And so with that string, we parse it to be a calendar object, and with that calendar object, we filter through the array of log entries. So this is just an example to show that despite what time stamp for the day it is, it will still be included in the same day filtering. I also implemented some error handling for filtering the dates. The first error occurs when the start date occurs after the end date, and there should be no log entries and an error message displayed, as you can see on the screen. Another error I checked for is invalid formatting. As you can see, the correct format for the date input is month-day-year. And any other format would produce an error output and would cause no log entries to be displayed. And the last error checked for are when there are no log entries for the dates inputted. So as before, there is an error message displayed and there are no log entries be outputted. And now Beth will talk about the different functionality for patient user.
So for the patients, we had to add one extra column in the log entries to display the role of a user that's not the patient if one exists in the log entry. So for example, you can see that there's a diagnosis deletes, where the HCP deleted a diagnosis for the patient, and in the role column it says that the HCP is there. You can also see above that when something like login happens, where patient is the only relevant role, the role column just says not applicable because there's no role to display there. We added this same role in the View Access Logs page, as you can see here. And with this, now patients can see kind of what their role is compared to them for log entries and actions that are taken on their account. Now we're going to talk about the other piece of functionality we added, which was sending emails to users when certain actions are taken with regards to their accounts.
We implemented the alert users by email functionality in a few different places. The first being when the user changes or resets their password, they receive an email notifying them of the password change. The second is when there's a status change in an appointment request. And the third is when there are too many invalid logins, so an account or IP address is locked out. So since the functionality is similar for all of these events, we're going to walk you through just one of them and talk a little bit about the code behind it. So we're going to try to log in as email patient, but we're going to log in 3 times incorrectly. when we do that, we get an error message saying that we've been locked out for 1 hour. So we can go ahead and go over to our Gmail account, and we can see that just now we received an email that says that our account has been locked out due to too many login failed attempts. So this functionality was implemented in Failure Handler where lockouts take place. So after the user has been locked out in line 163, we can determine if the user is a personnel or a patient, and then retrieve their email, which is shown in 175 for personnel and line 197 for patient. And if the user doesn't have an email, then the event is logged, but the email obviously isn't sent, and this is shown in line 180. Once we have the email, we build the body of the message, and then we call the send email method of the email util class, and this sends an email. So this code is also used in API password controller and API appointment request controller to implement the same email functionality. In order to log all of these events where emails are sent, we added a few more codes in transaction type.java, which stores all the codes that need to be logged. So to log these events, we call loggerutil.log and pass in the code and the user to log it for, and this updates the database and therefore the log entries that are viewable to the user. So every time we send an email or we don't send an email, we call the method and then pass in the appropriate code and the user.